Did you assign photographers to go out and get images of work, or did you go through the images that were there?
What we did was we selected images. There's 80 photographers in the book. Some are photographers currently working for National Geographic. We also took pictures from the National Geographic archive of 10 million images. Then we took images from some of the great documentary photographers, Henri Cartier-Bresson, Jack Delano, Marianne Post-Walcott, Louis Hine. And then we also took some images from contemporary artists like Edward Bertinsky, who's based here in Toronto, Janos and Yeti, and Martin Parr, and some of the Magnum photographers. So it's a mix. That's atypical for National Geographic. Frequently their books are strictly National Geographic photographers. We're also in the fortunate position of being able to go to the people working for National Geographic and saying, we're doing a book about work. Do you have any pictures in your archive that weren't published in the magazine or that you took very recently? And we got a few of those.
Some of the images, because you're looking at, and it's a gorgeous image. It's a National Geographic photo, after all. But sometimes what you're seeing is quite horrible. It's a weird feeling.
Yeah, there's a relationship between beauty and horror in a lot of these pictures. We wanted pictures that engaged the eye in the first place, but we also wanted pictures that touched, stimulated the mind, got you thinking, and that maybe in some way had a spiritual resonance even. And the beauty is sort of the surface level of it. When you look at, there's a picture of an Afghan coal miner on the title page. And this guy, it's taken by Steve McCurry, who took the iconic image of the Afghan girl with the green eyes that's been on the cover of so many books. And it's another great Steve McCurry portrait. And he was right up in this guy's face. The coal miner's got his helmet on, he's coated in coal dust, he's on his brake, he's sucking the very last drops of nicotine out of the butt end of a cigarette. But when you turn this living, breathing, three-dimensional, sweaty, smelly, filthy Afghan coal miner into a photograph, he becomes an aesthetic thing. There's a beauty to it. There's a beauty to that image. But when you look, the longer you look at the beauty, as you were saying, the kind of horror of the guy's existence starts to creep in. You know, you see the coal dust transforms back from being a shade and a texture into being coal dust. It's going to kill the guy.
One of the images that I flipped past and then went, what? And it was back to it was almost a monochrome, sort of a grayish color. And then I realized when I flipped back that there was a man standing, and you couldn't, I think he was out going ice fishing in the Arctic or somewhere, and you couldn't see land, you couldn't see sky, you just, this void that he was walking into. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's another really interesting thing, is sort of the force of nature, that we work in a setting. You know, right now we're sitting in an office talking.
Pretty slack job, really.
Yeah, it's climate control.
Yeah.
You know, the chairs are pretty comfy. There are other people who their work involves going off into really harsh environments. You know, whether it's in the Antarctic or the Arctic or in the forests of the north or the desert, the Sahara Desert. You know, there's people, that's where their daily work occurs. When you look at it in a photograph, it's stunningly beautiful in a way. And I wonder if the people if the fellow walking off into the scene you described, does he stop and say, gosh, this is really beautiful, I'm fortunate to work like this? I think some people do, or at some moments some people do, but then work is so consuming. If you're a fisherman, you know, up in the Arctic, in the Bering Sea, for example, you can look at the snow and the sunset and all that for a moment. But if you spend too much time paying attention to that, things can happen to you that are bad. You can get washed overboard, equipment can hit you. Work doesn't stop. It just goes on, and it goes on everywhere, all the time.
The book is Work, The World in Photographs, and I've been speaking with the writer and it's almost a production. You're almost a producer in this case, because you're selecting images and you're putting words and organizing.
Yeah, it was a team effort, is I think the way I would put it.
Ferdinand Protzman and Work is published by National Geographic, distributed in Canada by Random House.